Welcome to my kitchen, friends. Today we are filming a cooking video, in case you couldn't tell by the location. This is one of my most requested videos. I asked a couple months back if you guys had any video ideas, and cooking videos are always your #1 request, so I don't know what that says considering I have a fashion channel, but whatever. We're gonna go ahead and make some snickerdoodle cookie bars today, and we're also gonna make my egg bites, which are a great high protein, quick breakfast, or let's be honest, dinner if you just don't want to cook that day. So you can meal prep them ahead of time and eat them throughout the week. I keep them in the fridge most of the time, but they also freeze pretty well. So, you know, if you don't think you're going to eat all of them in, you know, a few days time, you can always pop a couple in the freezer. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. But if you're new here, my name is Meredith and I do all kinds of hauls and unboxings most of the time, but I occasionally do whatever the heck else I feel like or you request. So be sure to give this video a thumbs up if you enjoy cooking videos, and don't forget to subscribe if you are new and somehow stumbled upon me. The recipe calls for 1 stick of softened butter, also known as half a cup. So we're gonna go ahead and toss that in to my stand mixer. And we're also going to add 1 cup of sugar. Handy dandy trick, I know I've mentioned this before, but it really works well, is keeping a measuring cup, a 1 cup scoop, in all of your larger like sugar and flour containers. It saves so many dishes over time. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and cream the butter and sugar together. I like to do that on high for a couple of minutes just to make sure they're really well incorporated together. Next, we're going to add 1 egg. I like to crack my egg in a separate bowl so that way if there are any shells or anything funky, I can always fish it out. So we're gonna add in our egg. And then one thing that the recipe does not call for, but I always add in all of my baking, is a teaspoon of vanilla. So I'm just gonna eyeball that into the mixer as well. And then in a separate bowl, we are also going to mix together 1 tablespoon of sugar, because again, these are our snickerdoodle cookies, so we're kind of making a topping for them. And 1 teaspoon of ground cinnamon. And we're just gonna give that a quick stir so that we can use that for our topping. All right, now I'm gonna go ahead and beat the egg and vanilla in. Just going to give the mixer and the bowl a quick scrape down just to make sure we have everything incorporated in. No big chunks of butter or anything are left on the sides or the bottom. So I'm actually testing this recipe out. I have a friend whose partner is having surgery coming up soon, and I wanted a recipe that I can easily make that doesn't make a huge batch of cookies. So that way if I'm giving them to a friend, or maybe, I don't know, you're going to book club and you only need a few bars and not 24 cookies, this will be a great recipe for that. So I just thought this would be good. And then also the cool thing about snickerdoodle cookies is most of these ingredients we probably all have in our houses already. It's not like you have to go out and get nuts or chocolate chips or whatever the case might be. So I think that will work out well. All right, so now we're gonna do 1 cup of flour and a 1/4 teaspoon of salt. And I'm just gonna go ahead and eyeball that using the same measure as before. And now we'll add those in. So this recipe bakes up in a 8x8 baking dish, and you should line it with parchment paper. That'll help pop the bars out very nice and easily. I love that I don't have to scoop cookies. So I'm just gonna put all the dough in here. Make sure I get every last bit of cookie goodness. All right. So I'm gonna start with the spatula, and then I'll probably finish with clean hands because this is gonna take a while to pat down nice and evenly. So I have my fingers crossed that this is a very good recipe, and then I can throw it in my recipe box and pull it out when I need a quick and easy dessert. So we'll see how it goes. That taste test can make or break it, right? Okay. Go into the fingers, pat it in. So yeah, gotta love anything that's in bar form. I do think since this is a very basic cookie recipe, I think you could really switch it up if you wanted to. And I bet you could add chocolate chips or butterscotch chips, maybe some nuts, kind of whatever you feel like. And I bet it would turn out well, especially if you just skip the cinnamon sugar on top instead. All right, that's looking pretty good. Doesn't have to be exactly perfect because, of course, as it bakes, it will spread out a bit as well. I'm gonna add our cinnamon and sugar topping nice and evenly on our cookie bars. And to be honest, I feel like you don't even need quite this much cinnamon sugar. I have quite a bit left, but the recipe calls for it. So we're gonna go ahead and make it according to the recipe today, and then we can always adjust as needed. So my kids will be extremely happy that they get to test this recipe out, and then next week when I actually need to take the recipe to a friend, I can give them the entire batch. Let me know down in the comments below if you have a go-to recipe that you bring for friends and family when they have surgery or a baby or sick, whatever the case may be. Let me know what's your go-to down below. These are gonna bake at 350 for 30 minutes, so I will show you what they look like when they're done. And of course, I will link the recipe for these down below, the Pinterest pin, or directly to the recipe on the blog that I found, and I will type up my egg muffin in the description as well. I baked them for exactly 30 minutes. Here is what they look like in the pan. They smell really good, and I did stick a toothpick in, came out clean, so 30 minutes is what we're baking them at. Slid a butter knife along the sides to hopefully help lift them out. And now we're gonna go ahead and cut them into bars. So I think I'm gonna do 9. I think that should work well for this size of pan. And then the kids can have nice warm cookies for their after school snack. There we go. I'll try this piece. Those turned out good. Here's what they look like after they've been cut. Bite for you. Ooh, those are good. Very buttery, delicious. I don't think the amount of cinnamon sugar on top is too much. I think it's just right. I would honestly even amp up the cinnamon a little bit. Those are tasty. So those definitely get a thumbs up from me. So I'm just roughly chopping the spinach, and then we're gonna go ahead and assemble the egg bites. I'm gonna show you what I use in them. So I already cracked 12 eggs, and to that we're gonna add some salt, pepper. And I'm not gonna lie, I totally don't measure this, but I'm gonna say it's probably about half a teaspoon of salt. I'll put these measurements, again they're rough, down in the description box below in case you're interested. About a half a teaspoon of pepper as well. And then I like to use Italian seasoning. This is the one that I got at Costco. I highly recommend. I really love this, and I will totally be rebuying it if they have it available still, because I use it on so many things. So we're gonna say this is probably 1/4 to half a teaspoon, because again, I'm eyeballing. All right. And then the other things we're going to add are sour cream and milk. So the milk, I just do a splash, probably equal to 1/4 cup, maybe. And then I do about a tablespoon of sour cream. And I literally just like swirl my fork in it, grab some sour cream out, and put it in there. All right. Now we're gonna go ahead and beat these eggs. And I just beat until all of the sour cream is well incorporated. And then you want to fill your cups about 3/4 of the way, maybe 2/3 of the way full. You want to allow for toppings and cheese, of course, because it's the stuff of life. So you just keep filling these up. Now we're going to add just a little bit of spinach to each of the cups. And I switch what I put in these every single week. First of all, to keep it from getting boring, because who wants to eat the exact same thing all the time? And also, it's sort of my way of using up all the random stuff in the fridge. So I got some spinach to make something else, had some left over. The Canadian bacon is usually what I use just because it's a leaner protein and it's something that I buy at Costco on the regular, but you could totally use up leftover bacon or sausage or whatever, or you could leave them meatless and just do like spinach and cheese. I've done onion, I've done bell pepper. You kind of can do whatever you want. Be creative, right? Then I'm going to do some ham in each of these. For the pièce de résistance, we're going to use some shredded Gouda cheese. I got this at Aldi and it's pretty tasty, but I've used cheddar, Colby Jack, Monterey Jack, whatever you've got on hand works. You can use some pepper jack if you like a little bit of spice. And I just sprinkle less than a tablespoon of cheese on each one because I'm really just going for a small amount of flavor, not a ton of calories. You could do them cheese-free if you want to, but you could also try feta. I bet that would be really good, especially because the ones at Starbucks have feta cheese in them. They have those like little sous vide egg bites. Same basic idea. And the key to these is to grease the muffin tin really well. If you don't, they will stick to the inside of your muffin pan and tear apart. So definitely do not skimp on that step. Now we're gonna go ahead and put these into a preheated oven at 350 degrees, and we're gonna cook them for about 15 to 16 minutes. They will puff up quite a bit, and you just wanna make sure that they don't have any more wobbly, wiggly center, and that they look like they're cooked all the way through. You can even stick a knife in there to test to be sure. And then you just pop them in the fridge. They are out of the oven. They do deflate just a smidge after they cool for a minute. Let's go ahead and take one out. Now, as you can see, they pop right out as long as you grease the muffin tin. And here is what they look like. Enjoy.